So we are going to focus today on the assassination, really we should call it a murder, of Iran's supreme leader and his members of his family. I'll get into that in just a second. This was actually confirmed when I did my first report on this war of aggression yesterday. Various sources within Iran were saying that the claim that Ali Khamenei had been killed was not true. And then as some time went by, it eventually became clear that it in fact was true. And he was not killed alone. He was also killed with his daughter, his son-in-law, and his grandchild. An atrocity, even if you were convinced that there was some legal basis for killing him, and there wasn't, I can assure you. Surely no person with a conscience would say that killing his daughter and granddaughter or grandchild were morally or legally justified. He was 86 years old and had been the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic since 1989 for 37 years. And given his age, he almost certainly would have been obliged to step down from his role as supreme leader sometime in the not too distant future. Maybe within the next 2 or 3 years. He was already, obviously, if you listen to him speak, quite frail, although lucid. And one might therefore ask, what did the US and Israel accomplish by murdering him and also close members of his family, including a child? In the 1990s, the Supreme Leader issued a fatwa against Iran's acquisition, development, and use of nuclear weapons, which, according to Israel and the United States, is their overarching concern in terms of the Islamic Republic's intentions. And at various points, they've claimed that they had the technical capacity, Iranians, to develop a nuclear weapon. As you all know, they've been saying this for over 30 years, that they had the potential to develop a nuclear weapon within a matter of days or weeks, or sometimes they said months. And here we are in 2026, and they still don't have a nuclear weapon. So all indications are that the reports that started to emerge in 2003, that the Supreme Leader had issued a fatwa against Iran's development of a nuclear weapon, were true. That he had, in fact, prohibited this as a matter of religious law. And now they've killed the man who has prohibited this as a matter of religious law, while claiming with a straight face that their overarching concern is that Iran not develop a nuclear weapon. Now, someone's going to have to replace him, and the process for finding his replacement has begun. Apparently, there's an 80-member council, an 88-member council, I believe, that will make that determination during the weeks ahead. One of the candidates, if not more than one, is a radical hardliner. That's the way he's described by knowledgeable observers. What if someone, whether it's that person or any other candidate who replaces Khamenei, believes, by the way, with complete reason, that the only way that Iran can protect itself from the savagery of the Epstein regime is to develop a nuke? And then what? And he rescinds the fatwa, and Iran proceeds within a matter of days, weeks, months, whatever the technical requirements may be, to develop a nuclear arsenal. You know, the Americans and the Israelis may well have shot themselves in the foot, which shouldn't surprise anybody because they did that last year. Remember, up until the 12-day war, Iran was undergoing very, very intrusive inspections of its nuclear facilities by the IAEA. And then after the 12-day war, the Iranian leadership became convinced that the IAEA was compromised for a couple of reasons. One is there were strong indications they had been providing intelligence about the location of Iran's nuclear facilities to the Israelis and the Americans. And the other is the day before the 12-day war began, they put out this statement, which was total bullshit, about some ancient information they had, which kind of insinuated that Iran was secretly developing a nuclear weapon. And so this was used by the Israelis and the Americans as a pretext for launching that war of aggression last June. And by the way, they did it again. The day before this war of aggression began, the IAEA put out a similar statement. Didn't allege that Iran was seeking a nuclear weapon, but made all kinds of, indirect insinuations that that might be the case. So the Iranians have been persuaded over the past year that they have zero reason to trust the IAEA. They brought the inspections to an end. And so now, as a result of the US and Israeli aggression, we have even less visibility into their nuclear program, much less than we did previously. And now they've gotten rid of the man who was the primary obstacle to Iran's development of a nuclear weapon. I don't know what can be said about the decision makers on the American and Israeli side. Are they insane? Are they simply liars? Are they grotesquely incompetent? Are they all of these things? I leave that to you to decide, but one thing is for sure, they are not acting in a way that is consistent with their stated objectives. Now, the I just want to summarize this using a football metaphor. I think that the U.S. and Israelis have scored an own goal yet again. And now the big question is, what is going to happen inside Iran as a result of the killing of the supreme leader? As many of you will know, the orange psychopath in the White House was calling immediately upon his administration's determination that the supreme leader had been killed. He was calling on the Iranian people to rise up. Well, one might say that they have, in fact, risen up. The problem, of course, is that's not the uprising for which the Israelis and the Americans were hoping. That was a massive throng of Iranians shouting their defiance at the United States and expressing their sympathy for the supreme leader and his family. And there are numerous videos of this coming out of Iran. It's not just in Tehran that this is happening. This is happening in various locations inside the country. And as Rami is going to show you in the second half of this live stream, the outpouring of defiance is taking place well beyond the borders of Iran, as far away as Kashmir. But I'll let Rami get into that when I'm finished. So again, there is no indication that this murder is in any way, shape, or form advancing the U.S. goal of regime change. And I just want to comment 2 points on that, because everybody is saying in the alternative media that the ultimate goal is regime change. I don't believe that is the ultimate goal. I believe the ultimate goal is the destruction of Iran. So even if, mark my words, if by some miracle they install in power that cheesy little traitor, the son of the Shah, Reza Pahlavi, as the new leader of Iran, they will continue to attack Iran. Mark my words, they will do exactly what they did to Syria. And they will completely incapacitate the state so that whoever, and probably try to dismember it as well, so that whoever may take power in the future, whether it's Pahlavi or someone else, the Iranian people would be absolutely incapable of defending their sovereignty and protecting themselves from Israeli-U.S. aggression. That's the ultimate goal. Regime change is just the proximate goal. Ultimately, they don't want any state anywhere in the vicinity of Israel to have any capacity to defend its sovereignty and to oppose U.S.-Israeli hegemony in the region. Now, I also want to just talk about the circumstances of Ali Khamenei's death. You know, anybody with a functioning brain could have foreseen that they were going to try to kill him. And apparently they succeeded in killing him on the very first strikes on Iran yesterday, after a weeks-long, highly publicized military buildup of massive proportions. So a lot of people are saying, well, how could the Iranians have allowed this to happen? Well, the Iranian government, officials of the Iranian government are saying that what happened was that Ali Khamenei did not want to go into hiding, and he wanted to continue to do his job as normally as he had done it previously. And this could be, of course, propaganda. It's possible that this is being said to cover up a huge screw up on the part of the Iranian security establishment. But I'm going to offer a personal reflection, which makes this entirely believable to me. And I'm going to do it by talking a little bit about an interview I saw yesterday on Breaking Points of Trita Parsi of the Quincy Institute, who, although he opposes this war on Iran and readily acknowledges its illegality, has a very dim view of the Iranian government, as many people in the West do. And in response to a question from Crystal Ball, he gave an answer. I'm not going to replay the video and everything. It's just not necessary. The basic point here is that his answer to her question about what the Iranian government is going to do now clearly presupposed that the only thing the people in Iran's government, the leaders of Iran, care about is their own power. That's it. He didn't seem prepared to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, they are doing what they're doing, at least in part, out of a sense of moral and religious conviction. He was unprepared, as far as I could tell, to even contemplate that possibility. It was all just craven desire and lust for power. So what's my personal reflection? My personal reflection is that I've been to West Asia, including Palestine, and particularly South Lebanon, repeatedly during Israel's ongoing genocide. And on numerous occasions during the time when there was a hot war between Hezbollah and the genocidal military in Israel, I was at or near the border of Palestine in South Lebanon, and with comrades, one of whom was Laith Marouf, a frequent guest and friend of our show. And there were explosions. You could hear them all around the place. We could see sometimes the explosions. We could hear drones overhead. Sometimes we even saw the drones. We could hear warplanes screeching by. On one occasion, Laith and I and a friend and journalist, and Lebanese friend and journalist, Hadi Khotait, were staying in Hadi's brother-in-law's cottage, which was on a hill overlooking northern occupied Palestine. We were literally 2 kilometers from an Israeli military base, which was sitting on another hill on the other side of the border. And we were in the house, and we heard this massive explosion after a jet screamed by overhead. And this thing, Laith was in the middle of giving an interview on Garland Nixon and had to cut it short because he was, so concerned about our safety. And this thing struck, I think, maybe 200 or 300 meters away, an Israeli airstrike. And fortunately, none of us was injured. And we don't know what the target was, but that's not the point. The point is, all of this prompted a discussion amongst the three of us. And Hadi, at some point in the discussion, looked at me and he said, Dimitri, I really don't understand why you keep coming down here. Why do you do that? You know perfectly well that you're taking a risk with your own life. You have a comfortable life living in the West. You have a beautiful family. Why do this? And I've never said this publicly, but I'm going to tell you what my response was, and it is absolutely sincere. And that is, I've had a long and fruitful life. I feel very privileged to have had the life that I have. As much as I would like to live forever, I'm sensible enough to understand that I'm going to die one day, and chances are, given my age, that this is not going to be in the distant future. If I live to be the average life, to have the average lifespan of a Canadian man, I don't have that many good years left. So this is the reality. And when you get to my age, you begin to reflect on how you want to depart this world. And I will tell you that as an atheist, I don't have the religious convictions of Ali Khamenei or Hassan Nasrallah or the many, many devout Shia Muslims who support them, and other Muslims also support them. It isn't just the Shia. I don't have those religious convictions. And even I will tell you that I would regard it as the greatest honor of my life if I died in the cause of justice. That's how I hope I go one day. I don't want to go, quietly into the night, pass away silently in my sleep. I certainly don't want to die an excruciating death, as a result of some debilitating disease. If I have to die, and we all do one day, that's how I want to go. And I don't have the religious convictions of these people. Having spent a lot of time amongst Shia Muslims and other Muslims, and not just Muslims, also Christians. Excuse me. Let me see if I can get rid of that. I will tell you that I find it absolutely credible. Seems like I can't stop that. In any case, I have no difficulty believing that Ali Khamenei did what he did, that he left himself exposed um, because of his sense of religious conviction. And I have no difficulty believing that the same is also true of Hassan Nasrallah. You know, I and Rami have been roundly criticized for going to the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah last year. And many people said, oh my God, you attended the funeral of a bloodthirsty terrorist, and you should be investigated by Canadian security intelligence services, and you should be deported from Canada, all kinds of nonsense. I have no hesitation in saying, and if you don't like it, screw you, I don't really give a damn. Hassan Nasrallah gave his life in the cause of justice. He knew perfectly well that when he took that position of Secretary General, his predecessor was killed within 1 year of assuming the generalship, the Secretary Generalship of Hezbollah. And not only was he was killed with his wife and his little boy in an Israeli strike on his car with a Hellfire missile. So when Hassan Nasrallah took that position, he knew perfectly well that he was probably going to be killed one day by the Israelis. And he knew perfectly well that when Hezbollah began to attack the genocidal military in October of 2023 to draw away forces from Gaza and provide some level of assistance to the Palestinians being subjected to a genocide, that this was going to increase dramatically the risk that he was going to be murdered by the Israelis. And he did it anyways. So I would have no hesitation in saying whatever flaws these men may have had, and those like them who have died in the course of defending the sovereignty of their people and the dignity of their people, I would rather have them as leaders than these scumbag, Epstein, pedophile, disgusting, genocidal racists any day of the week. Even though I may not agree with everything they do, I may even have strong objections to a lot of things that they do. But they have far more dignity and decency than the psychopaths who rule us. And if you don't like me saying that, like I said, screw you.
And they stood up to the call of the Palestinian people in defending us in the middle of a genocide, while the entire collective West supplied weapons and intelligence to Israel. And Dimitri, I don't know if it's too early to tell, but I think we're going to do a strong effort to not just like we attended the funeral of Sayyid Hassan, to attend the funeral of the Ayatollah.
Absolutely. I would love the experience of being there and seeing whatever you may think of these individuals, they are of historic importance. And again, this isn't to endorse everything they ever did in their lives, but they did lay down their lives in the cause of defending the dignity and justice of their own people and the victims of oppression. Iran, just imagine this. Imagine if Ali Khamenei is the man that Trita Parsi and others claim him to be, which is to say that all he cared about was his own well-being and wealth. Okay. I'm sure that it occurred to him, and this obviously would have occurred to Hassan Nasrallah as well, that if he had gone to Trump and said, hey, listen, I don't want to, run afoul of your objectives in the region. I just want to be safe. Give me a few $100 million, give me, $50 million, some place I can live in peace and quiet, and I'll take my family there and we'll live in opulent luxury for the rest of our lives. And you do what you will with our country. If they had offered that, if they had put that on the table, does anybody doubt that Donald Trump would have readily agreed to that? In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Americans have tried repeatedly to bribe resistance leaders in Iran and in Lebanon and so forth. They could easily have bailed out on their own people, easily, and profited enormously because of the willingness of Trump or any one of his predecessors to bribe their way out of an insoluble problem. So they didn't make that choice. They stayed where they died, knowing full well that there was a high risk that one day they would be killed for standing up to the United States and Israel. So for that reason alone, these individuals, and not just the leaders, but the people you don't ever hear about, the people who fight on the front line of this war against oppression and against Western hegemony, they all deserve to be honored by us and they all deserve our gratitude. That's my view of it in any case. So having ranted for a few minutes, I'm going to try to update you briefly on what's going on in this war, and then turn it over to Rami. And let me repeat a note of caution that I shared yesterday, which is to say the videos and the photographs that I'm accessing come from resistance Telegram channels that I followed for quite a while. I can't, with our limited resources, verify the accuracy of these videos and photos. All I can say is that I have generally found these resistance channels where I've obtained them to be reliable, but that's not at all a guarantee that these photos and videos are what I believe them to be. So at the end of the day, just remember that, take it with a note of caution. But if I'm sharing it with you, it's because I genuinely believe that these photos and videos are what they claim to be. So let us begin then with events in Tel Aviv today. There has been a very damaging strike in the central. Now, I just want to quickly comment that there is a very strict military censorship regime in Israel, and they will arrest anybody who publishes video of damaged sites without the consent of the Israeli government. So if you see a video like this, it probably means that the Israeli government has allowed it to be published. Now, why would it allow that to be published? Because it looks like it was a civilian area that was struck, not a military base. All indications are that it was a civilian area. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't military personnel there or something else there that was of usage to the Israeli military. I don't know exactly what the circumstances were, whether it was even intentional that this area was struck. All I'm saying is, if the Israeli government allows a video like that to be published, it's probably because it shows what they claim or can claim with a straight face to be the targeting of civilian areas. What they're not going to show you, and never will they allow this to be shown, is a successful attack on an Israeli military base. And the Iranians have been saying over and over again that they are striking these military bases. And they said the same thing during the 12-day war. And during the 12-day war, we saw almost no imagery of successful strikes on Israeli military bases. But after the war ended, after the 12 days of conflict, satellite imagery began to emerge and other information began to emerge, which confirmed that, in fact, they had done significant damage to Israeli military bases. So just be aware that when you see the odd video coming out of Israel showing destruction like this, it's probably been selected for publication by the Israeli military censors because it advances their propaganda objectives. In any case, it's very clear that a missile got through here and did very considerable damage. And the Iron Dome, frankly, folks, looks increasingly like the Iron Sieve. Today, a spokesman, by the way, of Israel's foreign ministry showed up at the impact site of an Iranian missile. It might have been this impact site, I'm not sure, to complain to the international press about Iran supposedly targeting civilians. And here's what happened.
And schoolgirls in Iran that have been killed in a strike at that.
And this must stop. This must be stopped, and this is what we're trying to do. Yes, next question, please.
But what about those
please,
Iranian
let's
schoolgirls?
allow others, please.
I'm Lomas from INS News Agency.
Yeah, this must stop. The mass murder of Iranian schoolgirls must stop. How does this man propose to stop it? In any case, I believe that was a journalist, a real journalist from Channel 4 News in England. There's footage circulating of a much longer exchange between the journalist and this clown at this impact site. But it's rare that you will see a spokesperson of the Israeli foreign minister challenged by a Western journalist on the outrageous hypocrisy of Israel complaining about civilian casualties.
But just before the interaction, what that was going on is that this Israeli spokesperson was talking about how the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime is targeting civilian infrastructure. And then the Channel 4 journalist is like, but you're not in the position to talk. Your prime minister is wanted for war crimes. And that's what led to him being all ruffled up.
Right. Unfortunately, I didn't. I saw a report about that, but I wasn't able to find the video of it. Thanks for reminding us. So that wasn't the only area by any stretch of the imagination that suffered significant damage. Here is a video of a missile strike on an Israeli town called Beit Shemesh.
Oh shit! It's a motherfucking rocket! Oh my!
The commentary.
Yeah. It's funny how many of these videos coming out of Israel, you can hear somebody with an American accent speaking in English, swearing in English. Seem to be a lot of Americans in Israel nowadays. In any case, here is the terrible aftermath of that strike. Now, according to Israeli media, the strike killed 9 and injured 40 and actually smashed, that's the word that the Times of Israel used, it smashed a bomb shelter. So those bomb shelters don't seem to be a particularly effective shelter. This city, Beit Shemesh, has a population of about 187,000, lies, I understand, about 30 kilometers west of Jerusalem. Now, the genocidal media says that the genocidal military is investigating why the pathetic Iron Dome failed to intercept this missile too. And that's a very good question, one that they failed to answer, even though it became apparent in the June war of last year that Israel's air defenses were unable to stop a great many ballistic missiles from Iran and became increasingly, or decreasingly, I should say, effective over the course of the 12-day war. And since I'm on the subject of shitty air defenses, here's a video of a Patriot air defense system malfunctioning in Qatar.
Fuck yeah! What the fuck?
What the fuck indeed. That was an air defense missile going up and doing a prompt U-turn and coming right back down in the general vicinity of the launcher. There have been numerous videos like this coming out of West Asia during the past year. So this Patriot system, which apparently is the very best, or certainly one of the 2 or 3 best that the US claims to have, is notoriously unreliable and certainly is failing to protect the US military bases, which have taken very extensive damage over the past 24 hours. So, for example, here is a video of the Doha airport on fire. And here's another video of, I believe that this is the US military base. This is where the smoke is coming from in this video. So Qatar now has the dubious distinction of having been bombed by both Israel and Iran since Trump returned to the White House a little more than a year ago. So apparently being a lapdog of Donald Trump is not working out so well for the Qataris. In other news, Dubai's port facilities are being hammered relentlessly. And if I could just pull up the image here. Sorry, Rami. I'm going to have to. I may have to remove something from the. If you've got it there, this is. Yes, that's it. This is the DP World port facility in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. Now, that name, DP World, may be
familiar
to you. DP World is an Emirati corporation, a massive Emirati corporation that operates important port facilities around the world. And it was in the news recently for all the wrong reasons. Its former CEO and chairman, a depraved psychopath by the name of Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, was revealed to be a very close associate of Jeffrey Epstein. And in one of the more grotesque email exchanges between them, Epstein thanked Sultan for a torture video expressing appreciation for whatever it is that torture video showed. So the implication was that Sultan had sent him a video of somebody being tortured. But that's just part of the evidence that he and Epstein had a truly depraved relationship. And so finally, a few days ago, he resigned in disgrace. But the announcement of his resignation by the company didn't link it in any way, shape, or form to Epstein. Now, in addition to the extensive damage that the UAE and Qatar have suffered, there was also a satellite image that emerged today of the damage at the U.S. military base in Kuwait. And I've just put it up there on the screen. You can see that there are 3 plumes of black smoke. The biggest one is on the right side. There's a much smaller one in the very upper part of this image in the center. And then beneath that, more or less in the middle, but in the upper half of the image, there is another plume of black smoke. I'm no expert in the interpretation of satellite imagery, but it looks like there's a huge crater near the top of this image and other craters. So this thing has evidently suffered very significant damage. Now, of course, Iran is also taking many painful hits, and clearly, therefore, both Iran and the U.S. have air defenses that are imperfect, to say the least, and are not able to stop many of the incoming missiles, bombs, and drones. But the U.S. and Israel have a huge problem, which Iran might not have, and that is very, very low interceptor missile stocks. For the United States, that problem arises primarily from the fact that it has been supplying massive amounts of air defense systems and missiles to Ukraine over the more than 4 years of war there. And the Russians have proven themselves very adept at both producing and designing missiles and drones. And so massive amounts of interceptor missiles have been consumed just in Ukraine. But of course, the US was also supplying Israel as it was fighting a missile and drone intensive war against Hezbollah. And then for well over a year. And then, of course, there is the 12-day war. And so the Americans and the Israelis are already very, very low on interceptor missiles. And these things are not produced as rapidly as would be wise for people who are constantly waging war against enemies who have these types of weapons. Here is a report on published today on the Telegram channel of Geopolitics Prime. And you'll see it says that the stocks of missile interceptors are most likely dangerously low and could be, those are words coming directly from a Bloomberg article, and could be scraping the barrel within days. That's what Bloomberg is reporting. If, quote, the intensity of the current Iranian attacks persists. And this is citing an informed source. And the post by Geopolitics goes on and says over 300 SM-2 missiles costing $2 to $2.5 million each SM-3 costing $9.7 to $36 million, and SM-6 $3.9 million to $4.9 million interceptors were expended during the June 2025 conflict. Patriot batteries fired 30 anti-missile missiles to try to defend Al-Udeid, and Iran still got through. So that's the massive military base in Qatar that which we just showed you in that Patriot missile video. And then Geopolitics goes on. It says a Guardian report revealed that last year that the U.S. had only 25% of the Patriot interceptors it needed for its global military plans. Lockheed builds 500 to 600 interceptors a year for $4 to $5.5 million apiece. So as the war drags on, and I'm not talking here about a months-long war of attrition, even this situation is going to deteriorate significantly day by day for Israel and the United States. Now, of course, it is also true that Iran stocks, we don't know where they are. They may be getting a lot of interceptor missiles from China, for example, which probably has very large supply of them. But whatever the case may be, Iran's ability to defend itself will also degrade over time because it does not have unlimited supplies of interceptor missiles. But the difference here is that Iran is a very, very big target. The country is as big as Western Europe, and it has spread out its military assets all over the place, including in very mountainous regions where it's hard to strike them. Whereas Israel is a flat little pipsqueak, and the American military bases are also very small targets that are close to Iran and that are flat. They're not up in the mountains. And with on-the-ground intelligence and help from the Chinese with their surveillance satellites, it is relatively easy for the Iranians to strike these targets and to inflict catastrophic damage, much easier than it is for Israel and the United States to inflict catastrophic damage on this very large country in West Asia. The last thing I want to show you, or last couple of things, is the Iranian military, just to show you that their air defenses do appear to be having some effect. They just published a video of them taking out another drone. This, by the way, is an American, they say it's an American MQ-9 Reaper drone, which has done, killed many innocents over the years, been involved in many different war crimes, and you'll see it disintegrate. Iran's army says it has shot 10 advanced drones, most of them Israeli Hermes 900 drones since the war began, and 22 drones overall. And it also said today, this is an interesting bit of news, that it launched 4 ballistic missiles at the U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, which apparently is somewhere in the waters off of the coast of Oman. And it appears within range of Iran's anti-ship missiles. So I've not seen any reports about that attack, what happened, if it in fact happened. I don't have confirmation that it happened, but if they do start targeting these massive sitting ducks, that could end up being a very, very, very bad day for the U.S. military. So with that, Rami, I turn it over to you.
So it might come, Iran has been taking extreme measures or strong measures in defending its sovereignty, specifically by targeting the so-called Arab countries. But at this point, they seem to be a lot more like Zionist-occupied countries. Obviously, they struck Tel Aviv, occupied Palestine, as you've shown images, and as well as Doha, Qatar. But it's important to emphasize the amount of integration between the so-called Arab states with the United States. First of all, you look at Qatar, the Al-Udeid Air Base. I think, Dimitri, you had the opportunity of visiting, or you were not far from it. It is the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. It has approximately 10,000 military personnel there at all times. And then we look at Bahrain. There's the naval support activity, as well as British Navy ships over there. Over 9,000 Department of Defense personnel are operating out of there. You look at Kuwait, the Camp Arifjan, which is 55 kilometers away from Kuwait City. which is also a headquarter for the U.S. Army Central Command. Then you look at the UAE, the Al Dhafra Air Base, which is extensively used to attack Iran, or at least to threaten it prior to the war, to the attack. And then the Jebel Ali port, which is not a military infrastructure per se, but it's where U.S. Navy vessels go to refuel and manage logistics out of. And then, of course, there's all these different hotels or infrastructure within Dubai that are being used even before the Abraham Accords, where Mossad was operating out of. And it might, I mean, a lot of people in mainstream media seem to be shocked by Iran's response, which has been to also focus on Arab countries that have been collaborating with the occupiers. And then you could also see this interview that was on, I think it was on NBC. I'll just share a small snippet of it, where a journalist asked the foreign affairs spokesperson of Iran, why were they targeting American military bases in the region? Let's see what the response was. Oh, sorry.
Missiles cannot reach the United States by design, that you do not want to reach the United States, but you also said it would be necessary as a defensive vehicle, that you could if necessary. So to be clear, are you committing that Iran is not and will not build missiles that would have the capability to reach the United States?
I can confirm, yes.
Sir, if that's a red line for you, why is attacking U.S. military bases abroad justified?
But because they are attacking us. They are U.S. military, installations, facilities, bases who are attacking us. We are under attack. Why don't you, recognize this fact? We are under the attack by U.S. forces in the region. So we have every right to defend ourselves. And how to defend ourselves? We attacked, the U.S. bases. This is obvious. This is a very simple fact. And I hope that, and I'm sure that people would understand that. We are not the one who attacked America.
For the American mainstream media, it seems like America has the right to attack and no one has the right to respond. And then there's this illusion that because these military bases are on Arab soil, it makes them exempt, as if it's some shield, right? Where American military assets in the Middle East can be used to attack Iran, and Iran is just supposed to accept it. Of course, there's even more assets in Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Iraq that have been used to intercept Iranian missiles that were heading towards the occupied Palestine. And these are legitimate military targets, no matter where these bases are located. If they're used to attack Iran, Iran has a right to defend themselves. We've heard this slogan for Israel, and it applies for Iran first and foremost. The Grand Ayatollah Nasser Makarem Shirazi, 99 years old, from Qom, who is a marja, which my understanding is like a source of emulation, has declared and issued a fatwa calling for jihad against the United States and Israel, stating that Khamenei's revenge is the religious duty of all Muslims in the world to eradicate the evil of these criminals from the world. So after the assassination of the Ayatollah, other Shia clerics who have massive amounts of influence and who communicate to large segments of the population in Iraq, in Iran, have called on the people of conscious Shias to resist and to take justice into their own hands, since it seems like nothing is able to stop the moral decay of Israel and the United States. So, and we saw how this has translated, the call by the Grand Ayatollah, as well as the inspiration of the Shias to avenge the death of a spiritual leader, of an Ayatollah. So there's been, of course, protests in Iran. Dimitri, you've already shown a video of that. Let me see if I could share my screen again and show the response to Iranian people. And this is all while the United States have been calling or forcing the Iranian people to uprise and to remove the Islamic regime. That's what they used to call. People are coming out in support of Iran, and there's very limited protests coming in against. And this is just another sign of how the Americans are truly trying to manufacture a overthrow of the regime of the government in Iran, although it doesn't seem very likely to happen. And then the Iraqi people have been trying to express their anger to the killing and the assassination of the Ayatollah by trying to breach into the green zone in Baghdad. The green zone is this territory which is basically a semi-permanent American occupation, which is gated, and access is kind of filtered. So the Iraqi people have let me see if that's the right link. No, it's not the right link. Have been trying to breach into the green zone and to reach the American embassy. And it's also important to mention that this is kind of going on at the moment in Iran. And again, this video is barely 2 hours old. This is going on at the moment in the green zone in Iraq. The people are uprising. The people are wanting to remove the American occupation of Iraq. They do not like the presence of American soldiers. They don't like the presence of the American presence that is being used to hold a position in their attack against Iran. And then, of course, there were also more protests in Pakistan, and these ones turned deadly, where the numbers that I was able to gather at the moment have been 10 people were killed. 10 people were killed and over 30 were injured. I don't know if you... Oh, so this is...
हम इधर अमेरिका की एम्बेसी के अंदर घुसने में कामयाब हो गए हैं और हम अमेरिका की एम्बेसी का चौथ रहा है। यहाँ पर भी अमेरिका के मफादात होंगे, हम नुकसान पहुंचाएंगे, उनको तबाह कर देंगे।
Now, according to the translation on this clip, this is Pakistani protesters in Karachi who are they're getting very close to the U.S. consulate in Karachi, and basically this guy's cursing the U.S. embassy. There's a significant portion of the population in southern Pakistan that are Shia, that are obviously in strong support of Pakistan. Of Iran, of the Ayatollah. And then there's this video over here in I have no count of how many people are in that protest, but it doesn't look like anything short from 100,000, 200,000 people. In
Kashmir.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, I think it's also important to also recognize that Morocco, which is also a country occupied by a Zionist monarch, people are rising up in tents. So Tangiers is rising up. I would like to see more people in the Arab world rising up, but also in Bahrain, we've seen this clip over here. I'm sure many of you have seen this video right over here.
مسيرة يا شباب، مسيرة مسيرة، اضرب 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 عجل.
So this is in Bahrain. Bahrain is a country ruled by a Wahhabi Zionist monarch as well, but the overwhelming majority in Bahrain is Shia. And in this video, you could hear a man filming, recording, saying "udrub udrub," which means like hit, while the Iranian drone seems to be hitting an American radar system. So the people in Bahrain seem to be not as fearful of this so-called Iranian attack, because they know that this is targeting American infrastructure, Israeli infrastructure, and they're cheering. And it kind of reminisces some form of feeling of liberation coming for the people of Bahrain, seeing these Iranian drones targeting the infrastructure of the occupiers. Now, the day after the 7th of October, the Zionist entity has called on over 300,000 reservists, and then increased it to 360,000 while preparing to invade Lebanon. And then around the time of the invasion, they trained and prepared 18 brigades, which were used to supply or to support the invasion of Lebanon, which represents around 100,000 soldiers. Currently, the Israeli regime went on to call 40,000 reservists. That was on the 20th of February. And then on the 1st of March, that number increased to 100,000 reservists. Now it seems like these reservists will be used to support existing operations in the Home Front Command, which is to counter Iranian attacks and to do rescue missions, but also to support the current offensive of Israel through the naval forces and the Air Force. But I wouldn't be surprised if this number may increase over time. The current amount of reservists called would not be enough to support an invasion of south of Lebanon. We know that Israel is very eager in kicking out Hezbollah from the south of Lebanon, at least north of the Litani River. But with the support of the Americans, that also frees up the bandwidth of the Israeli army. So we haven't seen much of a response, a military response at least, from Hezbollah. They did condemn, of course, the attack on Iran. But it's a bit too early to tell whether we could see a stronger escalation in the south of Lebanon from Israel.